Hello, everyone, and welcome inside CFP Today. As always, brought to you by our good friends over at Fox 40. Go to fox40shop.com to check out everything that they have available for you. I teased this back on Monday. It is now Tuesday, June 10th. Hope everybody is having a great start to their June here in 2025. One person who I know has to be having a great start is Sean Thomas-Erlington. That is the focus of today's CFP Today. I always like to pick random little things that catch my eye or that I enjoy talking about. I've been talking about STE for a long time. This is a guy that I've had a lot of respect for since my early days of covering the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I was so incredibly impressed with him, not just because of the performance, because let's be honest, it wasn't a massive, he had a bunch of carries, I think it was like 17 carries, something like that, 86 yards in week one against the Toronto Argonauts, which, again, it's week one. Physicality is still ramping up because training camp, we know, even through preseason games, like you're not going to get everybody kind of, grizzled in from everything they've done throughout the season. That's typically what we see once we get to Canada Day and beyond. But Sean Thomas-Erlington's performance in itself was not the greatest thing I've ever seen. Put it in the context of his journey, who he is, the opportunities that he's been given, which I will hopefully do this in the next couple of minutes for you in this podcast. That's why I was so impressed, and it's such a great fit for him to be in Montreal. So let's look back at this, okay? Vanier Cup champion with the Montreal Carabin, great player. Love what he's about, hard runner, all the rest. Gets taken super late in the draft. He's a running back. They're expendable, especially Canadian running backs. It's like, yeah, special team or whatever. He's probably going to flame out of the league in 2 years. We're a decade in. This is a decade of Sean Thomas-Erlington being in the Canadian Football League, okay? As a running back, that is 1 out of every 3-4 years that you will have a running back who has that kind of longevity. And again, let's be honest, most of them are, and again, no slight to Matt Walter, but let's pick a random name. Matt Walter is the first one that comes to mind here. Didn't script or plan any of this. I never do with these podcasts. But Calgary Stampeder, Matt Walter, it's like special teamer, gets the odd touch in behind John Cornish. Cool. Obviously, you have freaks that are like Andrew Harris, John Cornish, Brady Oliveira. Those guys play a long time. They are the leading men. They get the role, not from day one, but there's an obvious progression plan to get them more and more involved in the offense. And once they have it, like Brady has it right now, he is in his prime. He's the guy. He's the leader of that offense. Yes, Zach Claus is the one that pulls the trigger, scores a bunch of the points. Brady's the MOP. And Brady's the one that controls the entire way that game flows for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, which we'll see coming up here in their first game against the BC Lions. But for me, what I keep coming back to with Sean Thomas-Erlington, why this was so impressive. Drafted late, has the longevity to stick around. When I first got into doing data tracking, I remember that I was actually going through and looking at production per touch. And Sean Thomas-Erlington was one of the most productive players in the entire Canadian Football League in terms of offensive skill position, running backs, receivers, even quarterbacks for rushing. Every time he touched the football in Hamilton, something good happened. But he never got a chance to touch the football. And he's one of those people that when you're doing a pregame, halftime, postgame show, typically you will want to be able to, go through and highlight people that you would like to see get a little bit more love or more attention. And Sean was always that person for me because I always felt as though good things happened when his hands touched the football. It's so strange to me that in the Canadian Football League, very often, a lot of the players who good things happen when the football touches their hand, it takes them way too long to get the ball more in their hands. Anybody listening to this who coaches, whether it be young kids football, high school football, university football, like, oh, wow, that kid's making a lot of plays. We should find a way to get him the ball. In the CFL, it's like, wow, good for Sean. In his limited role, he's really helping us. I guess we'll just keep him in that limited role. It's been very difficult for him to get the touches that I feel as though he's been deserved for an extended period of time. So, June Jones in 2018, I remember, they signed Sean Thomas-Erlington early in December. And those are always the guys that get signed early in December that you go, wow, the organization must really respect them and not want them to get anywhere close to free agency. So I asked June, hey, you signed Sean Thomas-Erlington really quickly. Why? And he said, there's no way we could let him go. We need to get him more involved in everything moving forward. Well, of course, June ends up eventually moving on, and Sean goes back to whatever role he was in Hamilton. Then we go through COVID, waste a year of what could potentially be his prime. You get into 21, 22. He moves on eventually here in free agency, goes to the Montreal Alouettes. Well, they've got, a kind of packed backfield, and Walter Fletcher is a big part of it. Until the cuts happened at the end of training camp this year, and my eyebrows were firmly raised when Walter Fletcher got let go. I just couldn't imagine a situation in which that guy would not be one of the marquee players in that offense. Especially, I mean, I wrote articles, and I'm not afraid to say this, because I'm not afraid to look stupid. It's like all winter long, my whole thing was Davis Alexander is a new starter. Walter Fletcher, yeah, he's probably making a decent amount of money. He needs to be involved in the acclimation process of Davis Alexander. He will help him moving forward. And of course, you always want to get younger and cheaper. Enter Travis Tice, who has a nice preseason in the backfield as well for Montreal. And everyone was saying, well, it's got to be this Tice guy. That's why they let Walter Fletcher go. Maybe it was Sean Thomas-Erlington. That's the reason that they let Walter Fletcher go. Because don't get me wrong, Travis Tice, I got respect for his game. He looks like he's a real low, hard runner. I like his style. But in those 17 carries for 86 yards that he had, Sean Thomas-Erlington, in the opening game against the Toronto Argonauts, people who are watching the game live and are kind of semi-aware of his running style and his physicality might be like, oh yeah, nice run. Go back and watch those closely. Sean Thomas-Erlington was punishing Argonaut defenders at the end of every single run. And it's easy to do that in week one. I think back to James Butler looking like he was shot out of a cannon in week one, I believe back in 2022 in week one in that game, because it looked like he was on double speed compared to everybody else that was around him. But Sean Thomas-Erlington has this physicality and this running style and this maturity and pass protection know-how. And the fact that he's doing all of this, and he gets to do it in Montreal after he was a Montreal Caravan, being a French Canadian, being in the backfield, it's really not that dissimilar to Brady Oliveira being a Winnipeg native and being able to dominate the backfield, be the most outstanding player in the CFL for the Blue Bombers. I'm not saying that Sean Thomas-Erlington's going to win MOP. I don't think that's realistic. But if he gets as many reps as I think he's going to, and he's able to stay healthy, which has been a challenge at various points in his career, but you could say that for any real football player, especially one who's getting hit on most plays like a running back, I think he has a chance to be the most outstanding Canadian this season. Now, that would obviously require Nathan Rourke and Trey Ford to falter or to miss a couple of games here and there, and for Sean Thomas-Erlington to have a monster season and to somehow get voters to believe that the running game is more important than Samuel Emilus or Justin McInnis or Curly Gittins Jr. or Karen Julian Grant or Tyson or Jalen Philpott. I get it. It's tough. He's in tough. It's not realistic, but that's how highly I think of Sean Thomas-Erlington and the situation that he is in after week one. Yesterday was overreaction Monday. This is kind of probably my biggest overreaction out of the whole thing, but I do feel as though he's got the ability to run hard all season long, and in that Montreal style of play where it's dominant defense, strange blitzes, confusing quarterbacks, you're going to get the football a lot of time. Davis Alexander needs somebody to be able to hand it off to. If you're going to work in tandem with Travis Tice and Sean Thomas-Erlington, if Sean's getting 3/4 of those carries, as long as he's healthy and productive, he's going to put up numbers because their offensive line is really good at moving people, and Sean runs really, really damn hard. So I'm excited for his season. And I guess this whole podcast, the reason I wanted to give him some shine, some love in this little CFP Today platform is that I think it's players like that that are the really, truly great stories of this league. The guys who wait and linger and grind, and like think about how many times Sean Thomas-Erlington has stepped into a weight room over the decade-long career that he's had, knowing that he's going to end up with 20, 30, maybe 40 carries in a season. This year, he better be well above 100, 150. Like he's got to get lots of love, and if he does, behind that line, that team, I just love the situation for him. So anyways, that is CFP Today. Sean Thomas-Erlington, I hope, on pace for a very big and very memorable season after waiting for his opportunity for so very, very long. Thank you again to Fox 40. Fox40shop.com is where you can check them out, get everything you need to get your season up, running, and on the go. And we will talk to you coming up tomorrow on Wednesday, leading into CFL week number 2.